You are listening to the AMZ Show, where you can learn the strategies and techniques we implement to build multiple streams of passive income online, generating millions of dollars in revenue last year alone. To get some of our free training videos, just go to amzshow.com and we will send you our quick start guide for free.
Welcome. In this show, we're going to go through all the strategies and techniques that show you how we built over $3.2 million in 2017 alone, all online.
Some of the things we're going to talk about on this podcast are not only just how to start your own Amazon business, but how do you differentiate yourself through packaging and logos, and how do you private label your product? How do you ship it from China to Amazon? And how do you launch your product?
Not only that, but how do you find the right product? How do you know which ones are the winners, which ones are the losers? In this podcast, we're going to be showing you, and we're going to launch brand new episodes twice a week. And we're going to be going through the entire strategies and techniques that we implement on a daily basis to help build and grow our online businesses.
In the first episode, we jump right into how do you find the right product to sell on Amazon? How do you set up your store? And once you find the right product, how do you private label it? How do you differentiate yourself from the rest of the crowd? Then we jump right into how do you build a team without any employees?
Then we're going to jump right into one of my favorite things, which is how you actually boost your online sales. That's one of the favorite things that I love talking about. And doing all the right stuff with marketing, that helps you increase your profits. But what people love even more than making more money is how do you actually cut your expenses? And that's a really cool piece of the puzzle that we talk about. How do you save shipping? So this is not just about private labeling, but how do you find the right product? How do you package it? How do you do logos? How do you know how to ship it? How do you find the right manufacturers? How do you have a whole team working with you in China? These are all just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to go through in this podcast. You'll also hear some really cool case studies from actual students in the inner circle.
We've also put together a free video report that you can get at onlinesecrets.com.
And that's just going to be the start of the podcast. What I really like about this is Amazon's a moving target, so things are always changing. There's always brand new things. We just had one of our students that was helping the other students with a brand new way to rank on page 1. And that's what's fun about these masterminds and being part of a group. If you want to join our group, if you want to not just take in the information from the podcast, but if you want to check out our free video report, just go to amzshow.com, enter just your first name and your email, and we'll meet you on the other side.
A lot of people know you from real estate, and you've had plenty of shows and success with real estate. They're wondering why the sudden change to Amazon.
Well, it's not so much a change to Amazon. Mm-hmm. You know, I still love real estate. I loved writing the books. I love doing the real estate podcasts. Amazon is more a way for people that don't have, $50, $60, $100,000 to invest in a property and buy one property, then flip that property, maybe wait 6 months. When I initially started Amazon, I just wanted to test it. I took $3,000 and I just opened an Amazon business. And I figured, let me just see how this works. And after several months and then starting to show people what I learned based on the internet marketing, it all ties back in together with real estate. Because in real estate, the 200 properties that I've flipped online, those were all as a direct result of internet marketing.
Right.
So instead of having a property where you tie up so much cash, it's like, to me, it's a lower risk with a high reward.
So you call it the lowest hanging fruit, but why do you switch from real estate to the lowest hanging fruit?
I'm still an active real estate investor. Right. I still, humbly own millions of dollars in free and clear real estate, but I would even get a little bit frustrated because I'd buy a house and, buy it way under market value, flip it, make a good chunk of change, but it's not like reordering inventory,
exactly.
Right? It's not like when we were in China, we find products and then if we run out of those, it's just order more of these, right? It's not like, I have to find the next one. It's like this one's already on fire. With real estate, it's cool because you have to invest a lot of money and there is a good reward, but as a percentage of return, I don't have my calculator here, but I would say last year at least 10 times more based on the investment I made compared to the real estate investment that it takes.
Right. It's not passive like Amazon is.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, because I'm a landlord too, as you know, and we constantly get calls and there's always something, right? And not that it's not lucrative. Being a landlord, I would never change that for anything, but it's not like a true passive income. And when people say passive income, right? Like, What does that mean? Because any income requires something, even if it's stocks,
there's always
right?
work involved.
That's
in
right.
Everything you do.
If you buy stocks, you have to decide when do I buy it, when do I sell. I mean, yes, that would be technically passive, but you're still putting in the work.
Right.
What I love about Amazon is that you guys will hear us talk about this a lot. The 3 criteria, right? Does it sell well? Can I compete? Are the margins there? We have whole shows dedicated just to those topics. But what I love about this is instead of having to put a lot of thought and energy into, well, what are the repairs going to be and all that? Like that changes house by house. With Amazon, it's like you're applying the same principles to every single product. It's not like, well, that kitchen might not be that bad and do I replace it? It's like more analyzing instead of just like taking care of a process and putting that process into place.
Right. And it's work at first, but after that, it's really more passive than real estate.
That's exactly what I love, right? And because people ask me all the time, why did you give up real estate? And I said, well, no, I'm not. It's like we have so many hours in a day, right? I mean, we have kids, we have obligations in life, and there's only so many hours in a day. And you want to make the best use of that time in terms of productivity, right? Because it's easy just to say, okay, well, tomorrow I'll do this. But when you lay the groundwork up front, then with Amazon, I don't tell people to do this, but sometimes not even check the store for a couple weeks because I know my inventory's up. I know I'm ranking really well. I've laid the groundwork.
Right, exactly. It's after you've done the work for it.
Yes, I clearly believe that in terms of risk reward, like I don't know of a better investment than Amazon. Real estate, I wouldn't say it's been foolproof, but you're making like bite-sized chunks of return on your revenue, which is really good. But as soon as you sell that house,
you have to find the next one.
Then and then like you feel good for a moment. You're like, I sold that place. Then
and
you
what
think,
now?
like, now I got to find a new one. It's not like reordering. See, if real estate, if I could just pick up the phone and say, hey, that one that I just made 50 grand on,
1,000 more of those.
Yeah. I was gonna say 3, but hey, I'll take 1,000 too, right? It's just you'd have to lend me a couple bucks. And that's the reason why I'm so passionate about Amazon is because it's just a different level of risk. And the reward has been better than real estate, but in terms of just dollars, because if you're starting with a huge nest egg, I would still say that real estate would be the way to go. Only because you can tie up X amount of dollars, and I'm almost certain with every house I buy that I'm going to make X amount of dollars. But that's not feasible for a lot of people to tie up several $100,000 in cash. So in terms of risk reward and cash outlay, I believe there's no better investment than Amazon. But a lot of people are going to be asking, they're going to be watching the shows, and you're an Amazon seller and you've been part of the team and we've done really cool stuff. But what got you into Amazon initially?
Right. I had never had several dollars to spend on real estate after graduating high school. I never went to college, just like you. And I knew there had to be a better way to not only make an income, but also how I want to spend my time. I have a kid and I have a daughter and I don't want to give up that time. So when I heard about Amazon, I got really excited because it seems like a really good fit for me and a lot of people too.
I didn't really touch on that too, but you brought up a good point because the time, right? The time freedom that it gives me. Because with real estate, that was another thing that we didn't even talk about is that I would have to get on a plane, travel the country.
You talk about that all the time. Leave your kids behind and travel. So
yeah, like to leave our kids and have to go on an airplane and like constantly, right? Like I go to China and I love going to China, but you're talking about every 3 or 4 months, not every week or two jumping on an airplane. So the time freedom alone is what should drive most people because people, it's like 3 things, right? It's time, money, or family.
And when we talk about passive income, that's why this sounds like a get-rich-quick scheme. And like you say it all the time, that's not a thing. There's no such thing. It's a lot of work at front, but then it turns into passive.
That's right. And, when we say a lot of work, I mean, the average person, I would say, probably spends about 10, maybe 12 hours a week. So if that's your time in the morning, when you put the kids to bed, or, if you work a full-time job, it's worth it to invest that initial time and that initial effort. And
compared to the rest of it, that's why I say a lot of work, because when you compare it to what the alternatives can be, it does make a lot of sense.
And that's why we made this whole podcast series, and that's why we have the free video report. If you just go to amzshow.com, enter just your first name and your email, and we'll meet you on the other side.
You are listening to The AMZ Show. If you would like to get our free training videos, go to amzshow.com. Enter just your first name and email address, and we will meet you on the other side. The information presented in this podcast is intended to be for your educational and informational purposes only. None of the statements contained in this podcast should be viewed as a prediction, guarantee, or promise that participating in our recommended programs will result in you generating a certain amount of income or achieving any level of monetary success. Success in any endeavor is based on many numbers of factors, including but not limited to hard work and capital resources. There are inherent risks in any business opportunity, and caution should be exercised before applying our information. You are encouraged to consult with your attorney, CPA, or financial advisor before doing so.